Hi everyone, welcome to week 1, session 3. I'm opening this session with a quote from Tom Brady because I want you to take this and translate it into your life as a college student. I paraphrased what he said, and he basically said, if you're going to go against me, you better be ready to have no life and fully dedicate yourself to football, because that is what I'm willing to do. And there's a great profile on Facebook on Tom you might want to take a look at. So this is how Tom Brady sees his role displaying excellence in football. He makes sacrifices. He gets plenty of sleep. He eats only the right things. He works out constantly. He minimizes his distractions. He is the consummate football player who has been successful for many years, and he has done everything he can think of to contribute to his success. That's what I hope you're willing to do as a college student, that you will take a look at every element there is that could promote your success as a college student and be willing to embrace it. So, we're going to talk about the 8 success principles by talking about what successful students do and what struggling students do. So, first of all, successful students accept responsibility for their own learning in college. They don't blame or complain or excuse their behavior when they don't do well on a test or on an assignment. They see themselves as the primary cause of their outcomes and their experiences, not someone else. They use creator language, speaking in terms of what is possible and I am responsible. They take a look at everything that is involved in being a successful college student. Plenty of sleep, eating right, getting some exercise, making sure your transportation is reliable and that you have alternatives to it if it becomes unreliable. Setting yourself up to have a quiet study area and time to study. Not taking on a job that has a time commitment that interferes with their success in college. Struggling students see themselves as victims, like whatever happens to me is because of, oh, it was just my fate, my destiny, or I just got unlucky, or others, like being willing to blame other people. Oh, it's the teachers aren't clear enough. These classes are stupid. I shouldn't have to take these classes. They aren't going to help me with my job. I wish I didn't have to go to campus. I like online classes. I don't like online classes. It's hard to follow. I wish this class was on campus, etc., etc. Blaming others, blaming situations like I can't study at home, people are too loud, or I never have enough time to study, or, well, of course I didn't do very well on that. I didn't have time to study. It was too noisy. I don't have my materials yet. My vouchers haven't come in. I guarantee you that every instructor on this campus is supposed to put the textbook in the library. You should have access to all of your textbooks at the library. So that particular excuse really doesn't fly for a successful college student. So just pause for a minute and think about, do I take responsibility for my own learning? Am I using creator language, speaking in terms of I'm responsible, I make things happen, I will set myself up for success? Or do you sometimes feel like a victim and kind of blame others? Think about that for yourself. Successful students also are self-motivating. They look inside themselves for reasons to get up in the morning and get to college, reasons to study for this exam, reasons to do well on this assignment. They don't wait for problematic consequences to motivate them, like, oh, if you don't study, at least today before the exam, you're going to flunk, or oh, they wait until they do flunk an exam and let that provide motivation to do better on future exams. Successful students commit to their dreams, visualizing the successful creation of their ideal future. So if you pause and think about your ideal future and can describe that in a few words, My recommendation, as corny as it sounds, is to write it on a little piece of paper and tuck it in the edge of the mirror that you look at in the morning, or stick it on with a post-it, or use a piece of tape. And every morning, look at that and be reminded of why you're going to college. Because struggling students aren't motivated. They can feel depressed, frustrated, and resentful because they don't feel like they have a lack of direction in their lives. They don't have a major, so they don't know why they're taking these classes. They don't really know what kind of job they want, so they think college isn't relevant. That is not true. You can be motivated to get an education without even knowing what your major is or what your future job might be. I promise you, if you're here for an education rather than a job, it's going to be so much easier on you. Try to develop your sense of purpose. You're either here to have an educated mind, or you're here to have an educated mind and prepare yourself to be the kind of person that gets hired in a variety of situations because you're a good problem solver, a good critical thinker, and you speak and write well. All of those things will happen regardless of your selection of a major, or even if you're still claiming general ed. Having a sense of passion about what you want to do. You really want this. You have to know why it's important to you to have a college education. And it needs to be so far beyond, well, if I go to college, I get a reduction on my car insurance, or, well, my parents let me live here because I'm going to college, or, well, I get financial aid, so I guess I'll just ride that for a while. You need to have a sense of purpose that you want at least to have an educated mind. Okay, so successful students employ self-management tools. They plan their lives. They carry out purposeful actions. Successful students put important dates into their phone or into a planner or onto a calendar. They look at what's coming up in the future and what they're supposed to be doing for today. They prepare for the future. They make time for their studying. They make time to plan, and they create opportunities for studying. And again, self-management involves sleeping right, getting exercise. So struggling students, as it says on the screen, live disorganized and unplanned lives, constantly responding to the whims of the moment. That means that they have a hard time setting their priorities, and they have a hard time with self-discipline. One of the most important self-management tools is the ability to delay your gratification. And that means that although something might seem pleasurable in the moment, that you can allow yourself the opportunity to have it at a later time and complete the responsibilities that are more immediate. And struggling students have a really hard time with that. So, successful students employ interdependence, as I've mentioned, building mutually supportive relationships that help them achieve their goals and dreams while helping others do the same. Now, that means that mutually supportive relationships include asking for help from fellow students, from instructors, from tutors, and other people that might have input on an assignment or help you prepare for an exam, which helps you make wise decisions with input from others, consciously designing the future they want. So being willing to learn information and get supportive input from other people who have walked the path before you. Whereas struggling students are kind of solitary people, and they may even reject other people when they say, hey, can I help you with that? Or would you like me to refer you to tutoring or something like that? Solitary students will say, no, I got this, when they don't really. So, struggling students also make decisions more carelessly, letting the future happen by chance rather than by design. So they find themselves saying, oh, that sounds like a good idea. I guess I'll go do that tonight. Or, oh, I don't really need to study now. I think I'm just going to go play some games, or I'm going to go over to friends or whatever. So successful students ask for help, benefit from the help, and struggling students don't really even tell anybody they need help. So here's an example of a thought related to employing interdependence. I need to believe that it is a strength rather than a weakness to ask for help with my work in college. Now, you may not believe that when you first start saying it to yourself. So some people like to put the phrase, I am beginning to believe that I need to believe that it is a strength rather than a weakness to ask for help with my work in college. But that's an example of a thought. And then examples of behaviors related to interdependence or asking for help is asking for help from the tutoring center, classmates, and instructors. I hope you guys will find a way to get good at this so that you are as successful as possible with your assignments and your exams. And a fifth success strategy is to gain self-awareness, which means to consciously behave and believe and have attitudes that help keep you on course in your college endeavors. You develop self-discipline, you're committed, you focus, and you persist in pursuing your goals and dreams, even when the going gets tough or you have a failure experience. And that's so important to be aware of how your self-talk is going, what you're saying in your head, and what you're doing for yourself. Are you setting aside study time? Are you getting all your materials? Are you telling yourself, oh, I don't really need to buy that textbook? Because struggling students make their important choices unconsciously. They're directed by self-sabotaging habits and outdated life scripts. Like, I never really had to study in high school. Why should I have to study in college? Or, I've never done well in my classes anyway. I don't know why this should be any different. I hope I can just pass. Struggling students then quit or change course when their actions don't lead to immediate success. It's really hard for a struggling student to have a failure experience and persist toward their goals. They often say, I need a different major, or I'm not going to go to college, if they aren't getting the positive reinforcement of good grades on assignments and exams. Okay, I'm going to stop right here at the fifth success behavior, and I will begin another section of this soon. Thanks for listening.